Dad Pod.
This is a video thing as well.
Doesn't have a name.
Podcast.
Midlife crisis.
Paddy Daddy.
Midlife crisis.
Dadcast.
That's not bad, actually.
Dadcast with Nivea Men. Try Ireland's #1 skincare brand.
All right, everybody, very welcome along to this week's episode of Dadcast. All the dads are here. Adrian's here.
Hello.
Dave is here.
Howdy.
And Nathan is here. Nathan, how are you?
Very well, very well. Had a very enjoyable Father's Day. Had the breakfast in bed.
Did you?
Worked out well. Yeah, I did.
Despite what we said about it last week.
Yes. Of course, I was very grateful for the breakfast in bed. So it was fine. I was very clear on my instructions. I had my granola and yogurt and a bit of orange juice. Nothing too fancy. No eggs.
Do you not end up with a lot of granola in places that might be uncomfortable?
Up your butt crack.
No, I unlike my children, I'm able to use the spoon correctly and manage to get it all where it was meant to be.
Nice.
Oh, very good.
Did they do that themselves, or were they prompted?
No, they were very keen on the making breakfast in bed. Very, very keen. I'm a man of simple pleasures, though, so it was very straightforward for them. There was no tea or coffee involved or anything. So,
I mean, you're not a man of simple pleasures. You're a man of very expensive tastes.
Well, I have. That is also very true. But for breakfast, I like to keep it simple.
Okay, fair enough.
As the day goes on, my taste buds awaken.
All week long, my kids have been colouring a Father's Day kind of card banner that was a lot of work and a lot of effort. But by the time Father's Day rolled around, they'd basically forgotten. So 2 out of the 3 of them definitely didn't remember until they were reminded of it. By which stage, I think we might already have been at a GA match. We'd gotten up and done everything, and I was happy enough, I have to say, largely with that. And it certainly, I absolutely used it as a guilting mechanism. All of my decades of repressed Irish Catholicism came pouring out of me. I was like, and you're behaving like this on Father's Day. What? That was it.
Of all the days!
Multiple separate occasions where I was wielding it like a sword. Didn't work.
This incredible day that is just so dear to my heart.
Yeah.
And I've been building up to for weeks, and you're behaving like this.
You've ruined it. You've ruined it forever.
Just like any other Sunday in Argaff. Lovely kind of what I'm not sure what you'd call it. Something round that you'd give somebody for finishing first in a beauty contest or something. What is it?
A garland.
Garland.
Something, not a garland. No, I can't think of the word.
Sash.
Not a sash. No.
The sash my father wore.
But anyway, it was beautifully made by my older son, who then had the younger guy felt a little bit guilty then, and then sneakily ran off with his brother and said, "Will you make me something to give to Daddy?" So he wrote out a quick message on a piece of paper and drew a hastily drawn picture, which did the job for me. Got a hug from each of the two of them, and that was at about by 11 minutes past 9. Father's Day was over, and then Sunday just took on its usual Sunday turn. I was working Sunday night, and that was the end of it.
A tiara.
No, what is it?
What does it describe it?
You pin it. It's round, and it'll have a couple of ribbons coming out the bottom of it.
Oh, yeah. I got
you pin it to somebody.
Rosette.
Yes.
Rosette.
There you go.
Oh my
Rosette,
God.
world's best dad.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. And a lovely message written beneath that. So that would
I thought
definitely be.
I thought the one that I got was just that there was only one of these things produced, Dave. I don't understand how there could be 2 rosettes in the world with the same thing on it. That's not possible.
Or how 2 different children could in 2 different households could be claiming that their father is the best father in the world.
Doesn't make any sense.
Logistically incompatible.
A reminder for our listeners, Dadcast is in partnership with Nivea Men. Want to feel great in your skin? Nivea Men has you covered. From sensitive, tailored skincare to cleansing and anti-age. try Ireland's #1 men's skincare brand. Nathan, this is one of those weeks where you were supposed to come up with the talking points, but I've noticed you've been
I'm
quiet
never great
reluctant.
at the talking points. It's got to be
Can
said,
I,
as
can I
Adrian
buy?
Barry is going to acknowledge. Go on. If you have a talking
No,
point, Adrian, step up.
I have an extension of the previous talking point, which is filibuster for a couple of minutes to give you a chance to come up with
Great.
something to talk about. I mean, we would have only been doing this 15 minutes previously anyway, so it's not going to be hard for you. So I was single parenting for most of the last week. My wife took a few days holiday break for herself and her mates. So which rolled on in and through Father's Day, which was quite the slap in the face.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many days?
So, 5.
What?
She really hasn't forgiven you for talking about her pregnancy snoring, Adrian, obviously.
No such thing ever happened as far as I'm concerned, Jared. So yeah, she was away for a few days, and it was fine. Like, I haven't said that to her, although she, to be fairness, she doesn't listen to the pod. And I won't be saying it to her. It was grand, obviously. On all other fronts, it was torturous and really hard work and all that sort of stuff. But it made Father's Day an interesting one, and the kids did go and make some version of them being very young. Obviously, made some version of breakfast, which was like a glass with a couple of yogurts stuffed into it with some berries, which was actually quite delicious. In fact, they threw some of their own little sort of kids yogurts in there. It tasted a bit like Angel Delight. I don't know if you lads grew up with Angel Delight, but it was a big
Petit Faloo,
Too fancy for my house.
Too fancy. The butterscotch Angel Delight was basically the only dessert I had for about 15 years. But yeah, they made a real effort, I must say. A bit of OJ did a really good job in it. And then I thought, well, obviously being the single parent, particularly on Father's Day, and having had the slap in the face, I thought, well, we better do something with today. So the last minute, I thought we'll head down to the treetop walk in Avondale. Are people familiar with the treetop walk in Avondale in Wicklow?
You're probably the only person to have that idea that morning.
Well, I thought that too, and I thought, geez, it's going to be mobbed down there, but it actually wasn't too bad. But so I sort of thought, well, it'll knock an hour off today. It'll, an hour drive down, do it for an hour, and come back for an hour. Bloody hell! Hard recommendation for the treetop walk at Avondale. What a brilliant few hours! An amazing spot. Brilliant for kids at that age, and probably even a little bit older. All the little bits of information that you have about the various wildlife that lives in the area, the plant life, the trees, the walk itself, the history of the area. Absolutely class, not to mention like the actual beehive thing that you eventually end up walking up and the slide down. Absolutely incredible. The queue was only 30-40 minutes, which I believe, having spoken to others, Nathan, can be an awful lot longer than that. And some families, I believe, might get put off by that and go about their day. But if you can hit it at a time that's not that busy. So it was amazing. Huge big playground, lovely pizza, great coffee, clean place, hard recommendation. Cheap. There's 30 quid including parking for the 4 of us.
Not bad. Yeah, I've been. I would also recommend it for the walk around and the what did they call it? The treetop walk. All of that. Like, the payoff for the queue just didn't do it for me. Like, this is not a Disneyland slide here that you're going to get a nice 10 minutes of entertainment. From top to bottom, you're talking what, 15 seconds?
5 seconds.
And you're queuing anywhere from 40 minutes to 90 minutes to 2 hours. No thanks.
I think 30, 40 minutes is doable. I do think anything beyond that, you're probably not at the races. But try and go down at a quiet time, I would assume, is probably the key to that. And the kids loved it, though. It was brilliant out.
Well, that's all that matters, isn't it? And you put in 3 hours of your time, and there was no hungry, narky anything.
Well, we kind of missed time, so we arrived down about 1 o'clock, and we did the whole thing. And I sort of, as I said, I kind of thought the whole thing was going to be about an hour, and then we'd be having lunch at 2 o'clock, and hadn't really got as far in the day as to consider as to where that might be. By the time we had everything wrapped up on the walk bit, it was 3:30, and I was definitely sort of having to start feed out a few biscuits and bring people along that way. But we were right on the mark. We ordered some pizza. It was ready about 15 minutes later, and it was absolutely delicious. But yeah, I'd say probably about 5 or 10 minutes from all hell breaking loose. And the poor old baby, was going off pizza crusts and biscuits for the day. Sure, he was delighted with himself.
salty pizza crust goodness.
Yeah, look, it was either that or go hungry at that stage. But yeah, I'd say like obviously me being the single parent and it being incredibly hard work for me for the day. If you were there with like if there was two of you down there with a few kids, you'd be absolutely fine. You'd like we enjoyed it, but obviously at some point when you're trying to marshal three young kids half a kilometer in the air or whatever length it is, your stress levels are up a little bit. But other than that, you expect that no matter where you are, to be fair. So very good.
I haven't been down there. It feels like it's quite the schlep from the north side. So you'd want to be making a day of it.
You can make it. It's probably, I don't know. It was 50 minutes from where we are on the south side, so it wouldn't be huge amount, a little bit extra for you, but definitely worth it. Definitely make a day of it. Like if you go down in the summertime, there are beaches not a million miles away. But it itself, like I know your kids are a bit older, so they're not going to be partaking in some of the stuff that my kids were. Like there's a little wheel that makes bird sounds, or you're like unveiling the flap. It's the only word I can come up with that tells you about the various wildlife, etc. that lives in the area. So,
Dadcast brought to you by Teenage Boys.
I did rack my brain for another word that might be
okay.
suitable,
Exactly.
Nothing exists.
Unfortunately, there's nothing there except that.
So
okay,
yeah,
back on track.
Very good.
Yeah,
back on track. Very good. I would definitely recommend it. Easily knock a day out of it, even though it is a bit of a schlep away. It was very good. This is not paid for. This is all experienced and
hashtag
good.
not spawn, which is how we like it here. No spawn.
Well, that's basically it is unfortunately the tone of this podcast. Everything we do is not sponsored, isn't it?
Apart from the podcast itself.
Apart from the podcast itself. Everywhere we go, we pay for everything we do.
Yeah, that's okay though.
No,
speaking of which,
it forgives an authenticity.
Yeah.
I've also booked Centre Parcs for next year.
Oh, good.
For next year.
Next year, bloody hell.
Oh yeah, Easter.
Right.
Easter, we'll be busy at Easter.
Yeah,
it's always busy, isn't it?
It's always busy, Dave. You're right. Yeah, get yourself good and fit for the old rapids there, Adrian. Those bolts will be creaking by the time you're done.
When can you expect the email to come through with that results and everybody scrambling online to try and book as many activities as they can? Is it about a month before you go? 6 weeks? All that stuff has to be pre-booked.
What are you talking about? For like restaurants and stuff?
There's a window for booking restaurants, all the activities like Astros and the treetop walk and what else? A couple of little kiddies activities like teddy bear making and that kind of stuff that you can't just rock up when you get there. On the off chance, there might be an opening, but all this stuff has to be booked weeks before you go.
All right.
Okay. And so like there's a window. Is this the way it works? It's like the window's now open and you can go and book.
Yeah. No, I don't know what it is. It's about 4 to 6 weeks or so before your departure date or your arrival date.
Okay.
Now, my experience is slightly different, and maybe at Easter, Dave is dead right. I just know, and we were there at the end of the summer last year, and it is frustrating in a way, because you do need to book also all the places you go to eat, and you might change your mind and say, oh, we want to eat out, and at 6 o'clock you'll go into the Italian restaurant, and online it'll be totally booked up, and you go in and there'll be two people in there, and they go, sorry, no, it's totally booked up. But aside from the main few activities, you could actually get on nearly everything when you got there, because people book everything and you can cancel them up to an hour beforehand or something like that. So they book everything and then they just cancel it. But the zip line.
So what happens in the Italian restaurant when there's two people in there and then nobody turns up?
No, they were like, no, don't have a booking.
Right. It seems like a slightly unnecessary. Why not just have it be available for everybody when they get there? And
I would also recommend not doing that many things. That actually, the kids, if they like the pool, will just want to spend all day in the pool. And a lot of it is, we booked like football pool, which was the greatest waste of time that there has. It's like, here's a football and here's 6 little holes in the ground and give us your 30 quid. It's like, really, kids are bored after 3 minutes.
Is that what were you saying, Dave, about Astro? Is that a different thing?
No, that's just if you book a slot on the Astro. There's an Astro football pitch, but again, that's your kids probably aren't old enough for that anyway. There's a lot of stuff that your kids wouldn't be doing. The treetop walk obviously is not going to be that. Your kids won't be at that. But other like the teddy bear making now, my 6-year-old has done that twice, loved it. Your kids would love that. But Nathan's right. When we went first, it was in the middle of COVID. You could only spend 2 hours a day in the pool, so you had to fill the rest of the day. And we ended up booking too many things, and we didn't really give the kids enough time just to chill. So you might get away with 1 activity or 2 activities a day. Don't feel the need to fill the roster.
Is the Astro like an organized game that you can join in on, or do you have to organize your own game?
No, you just rock up and you've booked it, and however many people you've got with you, just use it for the hour and then you're gone.
Okay.
But it's great fun, and the pool is amazing. Just as good as there is in terms of indoor pool areas across Europe or America or anywhere.
Wow.
And the rapids are just the bomb.
Oh my God.
And you will want to do it more than anybody else. And by the time you've packed the car and driven home, you'd have gone down the rapids 87 times. Your back will be wrecked. And but it is such good fun.
Every time I went down, I was like, surely I shouldn't feel like this. Surely every bang. But I'm not lying. My kids went down those rapids 200 times. And it's all they would finish it for the 50th time, and then I'd be like, surely we're done. No, one more go. Like, it's the same thing every time.
So this is a ringing endorsement of the whole thing, basically.
Oh, absolutely. Like, it is one of those, and I think everyone has the same experience where you hear a lot about it. It's very expensive considering you have to pay for everything aside from the pool when you get there, and it's fairly steep anyways. Now, obviously, you can cook your own meals and all that sort of stuff as well. But everyone who goes there says the same thing, which is when you're in the car on the way home, you're nearly booking your next trip.
Right. I mean, it's pretty expensive until you start looking at holiday prices anywhere else in the world, and it's like,
well, there is that.
Fair enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's fairly expensive compared to going to your family, your parents' house for the weekend, but that's not really what's happening here. All right. So one tiny piece of correspondence from one of the shows recently on the YouTube comment that we didn't get to. Take time to play with your kids, says Dave Zuby. When your 8-year-old asks you to go outside and play a ball, leave the dishes or washing and go play for 5, 10, 30 minutes. The dishes and other jobs will be there afterwards. It'll be soon enough. They won't want you to join them.
That's what we've been talking about, isn't it? We know the day comes when they just stop asking. So we have a goal in our front garden, and they can't get out of the car and make it to the front door without veering straight left and spending at least 10 minutes whacking the ball into the net. And I just go with them every time. We just do it because the day is coming when they just couldn't be bothered either doing it or doing it with you. So yeah, he's right. Look, he hasn't unpicked the lock of parenting there for us. But it's a very obvious comment he makes, but it's a very valid one. Do it whenever you possibly can. Particularly now, this, when your younger kid in particular might be sitting on the ground playing with something. The question, Daddy, can you play with me? I haven't heard that question being asked for at least 6 months. And almost certainly we'll never hear it again. So that's already a question in our house that has stopped being asked. As in, the way where you get on the floor with them and whatever it is, Lego, jigsaw, a battle between Imagine X figures, whatever it might be. But thankfully it's been replaced by, Daddy, will you come into the front garden and take shots at me? So I'm happy enough to replace one with the other 100%. But it's just one minute example of something that used to happen regularly that never happens anymore.
Your kid wants to be a keeper?
Well, it's more accurately, can I take shots on you? So it's a good system. He every time he scores, he gets a point. Every time I make a save, he gets to judge whether or not the save had enough merit to have me awarded a point. So
I can't imagine you're a good fake goalkeeper, Dave. I can't imagine you giving it the whole, I'm just trying. I'd say you're like,
he's Neville
trying to get the ball every
he's
time.
Neville Southall here. He's Michael
diving.
Owen.
Michael Owen.
Yeah.
Full stretch towards the corner to keep that bloody thing out. He's only 6 yards from goal and he's 6 years old. Screw that. But if he hits it straight at me, I won't get a point. But if like I show any semblance of a reflex save and flick the ball over the bar or something, he's got a lot of integrity in that regard. I will generally get the point for that.
My fella had a penalty to take in a penalty shootout at the World Cup a couple of weeks ago. Up in the local park here, Holland. It had gone all the way. The Dutch and penalties, you can always rely on them. Not this time, though, unfortunately.
Or at the last World Cup.
They got knocked out. Or at the last World Cup, they got knocked out on penalties. Good penalty, actually. He took a very good penalty. It just good trajectory, good pace. Just didn't make the keeper work, unfortunately. You got to hit the target, of course, from there, Dave, as you'd say.
So he missed.
He missed, yeah.
That's unforgivable, is it not?
You have to make the keeper work.
The keeper was, so they were under sevens. The keeper was like maybe about 10 or 11. I mean, he wasn't, but he certainly looked that way. So it wasn't just
shots fired.
It wasn't against Glasgow.
Cheating.
It wasn't.
Cheating in the
not at all. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying
cheating
that.
in the south side. It's not never happened.
At that age,
they have a 16th man there, Adrian.
All sides. They did actually have an extra player. Would you believe, Ger?
Yeah, I would strongly believe that.
Yeah. She would well believe that. Ger.
It's accidental. We can't count.
Technically, a very good penalty. Just wide of the post.
And how did he take the missing of the penalty?
He's fine. Some of his teammates had missed as well, so it wasn't as if he was flying solo. But there was various. I wouldn't actually. A conversation came up at the end. About the game had finished level after normal time, and then we'd also gathered in the middle, and there was a conversation about whether it should penalties or like golden goal. And I was had never really given it a second thought before that, but I found myself in a position where I was kind of saying, golden goal, like penalties is too much at that age. Just play 3-4 minutes, whoever gets the goal. If it ends up that we end up having to play 5 minutes, because obviously they're under pressure, we're trying to get the pitches free. If we play for 5 minutes and still deadlock, do penalties, but it's not a great way, I don't think, for kids at that stage. Maybe I'm overthinking it.
Well, if they score, it's a great thing, but
you'll be there forever.
Yeah, the mini World Cup I was at the weekend was golden goal first, and definitely like golden goal at senior international level, definitely not in favour of it, where there's tactics involved. But the sheer joy of scoring the winning goal in a golden goal extra time, I think, makes up for it underage.
Yeah, penalties. I don't know.
It's a bit much to be asking 7-year-olds to participate in a penalty shootout.
And there was a couple of them very, very, very upset afterwards. Like that was my concern about it. Like,
I mean, I definitely think the goal games is better without all that stuff than, and soccer doesn't have that. So maybe that's the next revolution coming in soccer. But the soccer
they don't keep score. They don't keep score in soccer.
The lads keep score here in their penalty shootouts.
But it's a mini World Cup.
This is different from, say, the leagues that they're playing out of the weekends. The weekends is you just rock up, you play the game. Obviously, the kids are keeping score in their own heads, but they do that in GA games as well.
But it wasn't a mini World Cup like amongst yourselves. It's a mini World Cup with other clubs.
Yeah, it's organised by our club.
No,
it's organised by. Yeah, it's organised by our club, but anybody can register. So you had all.
Oh yeah, but sorry, it's not. So my son played at the Leicester Celtic mini World Cup, but he plays for a different club. But nobody else from his club was playing on it. So it wasn't he was playing with other. So basically, a club organises the mini World Cup, and anyone can play in it. But then the players are all just randomly mixed together. So you're not.
It's mini leagues.
They did put a bit of effort in to make sure that they could try and stream the players that they knew about within our own club, and then obviously after that you're absolutely in the lap of the gods. Are you one of these dads who's taking your kid around to World Cups every weekend?
No, but we live right beside there, and a lot of the other kids in the neighbourhood were going. It was unbelievable. Like I couldn't get one of the lads in. The demand was so high. Great setup. Great setup down there.
They're incredible. Absolutely incredible.
This was 5 nights. 5 nights, was it?
Yeah,
5 nights. Our club's one is on just Saturday for the day. But this was, I think he played 5 nights, and definitely Roach was down giving out the medals afterwards. They were all big long queue to get their photos, and
surprised they didn't ask you to get involved.
Well, I'm not a member of the club, I just
Stephanie Roach
just came in, took advantage of their Collie O'Neill, the Shamrock Rovers manager, is a former player and I think coaches one of their underage teams, so probably brought Stephanie down as well. You know, that's the story behind that. But yeah, they're brilliant. Like I don't bring my kids around to loads of different mini World Cups, but I could see why people would, because they're just good crack. And also, it's a good way of sort of forcing your kid into a situation where he doesn't know anybody else. And by the end of the week, like, you know, he knows all the other lads on the team and got to chat, got to make an effort.
Yeah. There you go. What are your talking points this week, Nathan?
Here we go. It's been postponed for long enough.
He's forgotten about it since we've
but my one major cause of concern right now is, you know, the summer coming up and the children not going to school anymore and occupying them for all day of every day when they're not at a summer camp, and getting that balance of going, actually, you're on your holidays, you can relax, sit down and, you know, watch your YouTube videos for a couple of hours in the morning, and then having that of getting them to stop the couple of hours and then doing something with their lives that doesn't involve me losing my shit.
Yeah. How do you do that?
That's my topic. I've come up with the topic. You guys have to answer the question. That's how it works, isn't it?
Well, pulling a topic out of your arse 25 minutes into the recording doesn't count.
Wow.
It may be a topic nonetheless. Yeah, look, it's a difficult one. And the problem is, for those days where they're not in camp, the 2 hours that you've given them to play their PlayStation or watch YouTube videos, whatever it is, that is your only window to get stuff done. So you have to be so disciplined, whether it's work, prep, housekeeping, getting prep, making the dinner, getting the bedclothes changed, whatever the hell it might be. You have no alternative but to get it done in those 2 hours. And then you're the one who always has to come up with the idea as to what's going to be done in the afternoon. Then the years are probably old enough, Nathan, that you can send a couple of them out onto the green with their mates.
Oh yeah. No, they'll spend most of their summer out in the green grand, and we won't even need to think about them. But it's just still, I can still see there'll be a moment every day of, just wanna hang around.
Daddy, I'm bored.
Do nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate that they always just seem to circle back towards screens. So they might do something for an hour, or they might play a game together for a while, or go in the back garden, or we'll head up to the green, and it's always, can we play our Kindles now? And I was like, oh, why does it always circle back to this? They're like, it's just that it's the first go-to point in their minds is the screen. I guess we have led them down that path or allowed it to fester in such a way, but I know that'll happen a good bit over the summer. Now, friends, I have booked them into 3 weeks of camps, as well as we're getting away ourselves for a few days. So the summer will still go pretty quickly, but yeah, I'd hate those days, particularly if it's lashing rain out as well. Like, what can you really do?
I don't know. When it's lashing rain, like, you know, can they do some art? Can they do some
for half an hour? Yeah, draw
exactly.
for half an hour, and then it's like, oh, then they're looking at you going, "What now?"
But obviously, the main problem is the use of screens is something that they're seeing from you. Like, you're on your phone the whole time.
Well, I'm not really.
I would say probably is definitely, and if you're working from home, they're seeing you on a screen and they don't go, Daddy's on the laptop doing work. Well, in their head, you know, you're still on a screen. And even aside from that, there's still a lot of screens involved. And there is a part that, like, they have access to way better stuff than we did than when we were kids. Like, there's a lot of good stuff on the screens that they have. I used to find myself watching a lot of Test cricket because we had 6 channels and it was on the BBC. And, you know, there was 8 hours of the day. You'd watch Neighbours, you'd watch Going for Gold, and then the cricket would be on for 5 hours.
Henry Kelly.
Go
that loan, man. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was Henry Sellers based on Henry Kelly?
He was, and Henry Kelly said about he said about that loan that it was a 1-horse town without the horse.
Wow.
Correct. He was obviously correct, wasn't he?
I would argue counter to that. No. Well, you're right about the devices. I'm brutal. I need to do something to. I need to have an intervention with myself about devices. It's too much. And they're definitely looking at it like they're definitely looking at me going, "Oh, this is the way to do it." And they are. Look, I don't know. The answer to Dave's question is, if anybody had an answer to that, he'd be a wealthy person about how you get them off it, or like the influences by which they end up wanting them all the time. we've gone down the FIFA on the iPad path, so I'll only let him play it when I'm there with him, and we'll end up playing it together. But even still, it's just like they do. I don't know. I definitely find like they move from obsession to obsession. It was air up. Remember I mentioned that a few weeks ago? Air up. Had to get an air up.
Yeah,
had to get an air up. Got an air up. Half an hour later, went on about an air up for
Couldn't give a
a
shit.
month and a half solid. Could not give a shit. Like hasn't.
I guess my lads are older, so therefore they're still like, one of them has it since Christmas and still uses it every day and still wants to get the new taste things. Now their latest thing is they're making YouTube videos of can blindfold air up test, which I'm like, is this good? Is this bad? I'm not quite sure. I feel like it's another way of you getting access to a screen.
Are they doing much
maybe some
business?
creativity. No, because they're not allowed. Like, you're only allowed to show it to your subscribers. The only people who are allowed to subscribe are people I know who are your friends. So no, they're not doing much business. But maybe I should open it up to the world.
Yeah.
Mainly, the main reason I won't let them open it up to the world is that they have no sense of what privacy is. So it's, oh, I'm going to record this video, and there's our car, and there's where we keep the house keys, and there's our front door left wide open, and do you want to know where we live?
There's Daddy in the shower.
yeah. Daddy, why is this not working?
What? Are you in the shower?
When it comes to this FIFA, for example, I have a very different view on that in comparison to pretty much everything else screen related. Like, they go in there, the two of them, and they'll play for an hour, and they'll play against each other or on the same team as each other in a World Cup or a Champions League or something, and the crack they're having, and there's a lot of singing and a lot of shouting and roaring, and they're fully animated, fully interactive, fully invested in it. I love hearing that. I'm perfectly happy for them to do that. Then even let them do that a couple of times a day, then have them sitting there watching some idiot on YouTube talking God knows what sort of rubbish.
Get good quality computer games.
I think so, because otherwise they're just staring at something. There's no interaction. They're getting nothing from it. They're delivering nothing to it. And it's essentially just dead time. Yeah. Whereas they're bonding in there. They're actually talking to each other about players. They're talking about substitutions. They're talking about, well, he's X number of rated, and he's 81 rated, and who do you think is the better striker? And then there'll be loads of questions that they'll have for me out of that. Daddy, why is Cristiano Ronaldo's defense rating 24 but Messi's is 27? Why are each of these? Oh, what's the difference between those two as defenders? It's actually constructive time. Now, as long as they aren't allowed to do it for 8 or 9 hours non-stop, that's the issue. But I'd far sooner let them be in there on the PlayStation than watching rubbish on YouTube.
Oh yeah, the YouTube videos of the guys playing the games that they aren't allowed to play at the moment. So as they step towards Fortnite, which is right where my kids are, I'm kind of in the same. Look, there's an obsession element. Absolutely. They are playing with their mates. So like, they're online talking to their mates all the time during it. So is there a social side to that they're having the crack? Now, how they're communicating is basically just shouting at each other as loudly as they possibly can.
And are you sure it's just their mates? Like, are you au fait enough with the technology to make sure that it's not like?
Pretty much. Like, I would check in on it. Now I'd say we're heading rapidly down the track of trying to play up in the room and be a bit more secretive at the moment. Like, they just play it in the sitting room. You're there, you can hear who they're talking to, all of that. But yeah, that's coming quickly, I would say, where they're a step ahead.
What device, Dave, are your kids using?
It's changed over the years from an old beaten up iPad that must have been used during the Second World War to Kindles, and then Switch, and then the young fella made his communion, and we said he could spend the money on whatever he wanted within reason. So upgraded to a PS, so that's what he's working on at the moment. But the games essentially are the same. He just got better graphics, and really all they play is FIFA at the moment, with a little bit of Fortnite or Minecraft or something like that. But generally, they're just I'm happy enough for them to play as long as it's 2-player, that they're actually working together on something, because I can actually hear them developing as a pair, their relationship and their understanding of each other and their willingness to communicate and compromise, and a tolerance of each other's mistakes when someone doesn't pass when they should have done, and all those little things are important.
Yeah. Well, that would certainly beat the "you idiot" that we hear the most in our house.
Well, that happens a plenty of time, and that outside of screen time as well, just abuse of each other. But look, that's brothers do that, don't they?
Yeah. No, that's interesting. And if anybody else has similar experiences, dadcast@offtheball.com is the email address, or you can always get us at dadcastpod on Twitter. And a reminder that Dadcast is in partnership with Nivea Men. Want to feel great in your skin? Nivea Men has you covered. From sensitive, tailored skincare to cleansing and anti-age. Try Ireland's #1 men's skincare brand. Anybody got anything else before we wrap up this week?
Yeah, did we
Fair
all
play
notice?
to Nathan.
Sorry, Adrian, did we all notice the review of the Dadcast and the Sunday Independent at the weekend? Were we pleased with it?
Oh, yeah.
Glorious.
I thought it
It
was
wasn't
very
really
kind
a
to us
review.
indeed.
Do you think that they were like, they really thought it was shit, and so they just said, "Oh, but you're better off to say nothing than say something bad." So they just said, "This happens."
No, I think that's been a bit harsh. I was pleased with what I read.
This is a thing. You can check it out over here. If you
it was
want to.
definitely a bit more on the, if you're into it's Father's Day. What podcasts are there for dads? Here you go.
Okay,
Not
I'm
many.
sorry I
Adrian,
brought
they
it up.
didn't expose your exposure and your dogging, so therefore had not been listening to last week's episode.
Jesus Christ.
I obviously missed the dogging part. That was the best part.
That would have made my year if that was in the Sunday Indo.
Well, it was a recommendation for what to do when you're camping. That was actually what was going on there.
I'm trying to come up with an off the balls pun, but it's not working. If anybody wants
I'm
to
going camping next week, Adrian.
You are.
Your name will probably be, there'll probably be a photo of you up when I walk in going.
Jesus, listen, stop. You're doing it wrong if you've got a photograph of me up. Anyway, I really just wanted to say well done to Nathan. He really, really earned his corn this week with the topics. So impressive.
Listen, you've got 30 seconds. Our time is nearly up. Upgrade to pro, everyone.
There you go. All right, folks. See you next week. Dadcast@offtheball.com. Take care.